Part 1/10. The room smelled like champagne and heat. Too many bodies, too much perfume, too many smiles that didn't reach eyes. My thumb hovered over my phone screen, right above a blue triangle. Play. On the other side of the long dining table, Marisol leaned back in her chair like she owned the air in here. Gold hoops, glossy hair, that smug little tilt of her mouth that said, "Try me." She lifted her glass toward me. "Ava, baby," she called, loud enough for everyone to turn. "Tell them again what you think you heard." My brother Daniel didn't look at me. He stared at the centerpiece like the flowers might start explaining things for him. My mom sat between Aunt Raina and Grandma Lita, hands folded tight in her lap. The way she pressed her lips together told me she'd already chosen a side. She just hadn't said it out loud yet. Marisol's eyes flicked to my phone. Then she smiled wider. "Go on," she said sweetly, "because right now, you're making yourself look unstable." A chair scraped. Someone laughed nervously. Forks paused in midair. I swallowed hard, feeling my pulse in my throat. The screen reflected my face, cheeks flushed, eyes glassy, jaw clenched, like I was trying to hold myself together with my teeth. Marisol turned to the table, performing concern like it was a talent she'd practiced. "I told Ava she could come tonight. I said we're family, but she's been spiraling for weeks with this story that I stole money from her." Her voice hit the word stole like a slap. Mom's gaze snapped to me. "Ava," she warned, like I was a kid about to embarrass her in church. I stared at my brother. "Daniel." He finally looked up. His eyes were exhausted. Not angry. Not surprised. Like this had been eating him too, but he didn't know how to stop it without losing something. Marisol's hand slid onto his knee under the table. Possessive, calming, claiming. "Honey, don't get dragged into this," she murmured, still loud enough to be heard. "She's been lying." That word, lying, landed harder than stole. My stomach rolled. I had to grip the edge of the chair so my hands wouldn't shake. I didn't want them to see fear. I didn't want them to smell it on me and decide it meant guilt. Marisol's gaze stayed locked on my phone. "If you have proof," she said, tilting her head, faux pitying, "play it." My thumb hovered again. And for a second, everything in me screamed to do it. To press play and let her voice fill the room like smoke. But the last time I rushed, she twisted it. The last time I cried, she called it a breakdown. The last time I told the truth, she made it sound like a rumor. So I forced my hands still. Because I didn't come here to argue. I came here to end it. I set my phone face down on the table like a loaded weapon. "We're not doing this like that," I said, my voice low. Marisol's smile twitched. "Oh, like what?" I leaned forward. "Like adults." Aunt Raina cleared her throat. "Ava, cariño, maybe this isn't the time." "It's the perfect time," Marisol cut in. "She wants attention. Let her have it." A couple of cousins exchanged looks. One of them lifted their own phone, screen angled subtly like they were filming. Of course. This was how it worked now. Family drama wasn't just pain. It was content. My chest tightened. If you've ever been betrayed by family, you know this feeling. Like the floor under you is made of paper and everyone's waiting to see if you'll fall through. I turned my head slowly, making eye contact around the table. Mom, grandma, aunties, cousins. Daniel. 3 months ago, I said, Dad's life insurance paid out. Mom's face went stiff. Ava. 3 months, I repeated, refusing to shrink. He left a separate account for me. Not for Daniel, not for you, for me. Marisol let out a small laugh that wasn't funny. Here we go. I kept going anyway. I didn't touch it right away. I couldn't. It felt like cashing him in. Grandma Lita's eyes softened, but she didn't speak. When I finally tried, I said, the account was empty. The table went dead quiet. Even the music from the living room felt far away, like it was happening in another house. Daniel's posture changed, stiff, alert. Ova. Marisol lifted a manicured hand to her chest. Oh my God. She looked around as if she couldn't believe what she was hearing. You're accusing me of hacking a bank account now? That's insane. I stared at her. I didn't say hacking. She blinked, just once. A tiny slip. I caught it. I turned to Daniel. I went to the bank. I got the transfer records. Mom sat up straighter. Transfer records? Marisol waved a dismissive hand. Anyone can print something from online and claim it's official. It wasn't online, I said. It was stamped, signed, and it showed 2 transfers. Marisol's smile stayed in place, but her eyes sharpened. To where? I reached into my purse slowly, carefully, like a magician about to pull out the part that makes the crowd gasp. I slid a folded paper onto the table. The bank logo sat at the top, clean and unforgiving. Cousin Lacey leaned forward. Aunt Rhina's mouth parted. Mom's fingers trembled as she unfolded it. Daniel stared at it like it might bite. Marisol didn't move. She just watched my mother's face. And when Mom's eyes hit the recipient name on the transfer line, her breath caught, audible. "What is that?" Mom whispered. Daniel's head snapped up. "Let me see." Mom slid the paper toward him like it suddenly weighed too much. He read it, and the color drained from his face. Marisol's voice stayed smooth. "Are we done with the theatrics?" Daniel didn't answer. His eyes lifted slowly to his wife. "Ava," he said hoarsely, "this says—" Marisol cut him off, laughing too loud. "Oh my God! So what? You're saying my name is on it? That's your big proof? That's fake." I didn't even flinch. "It's not fake." Marisol leaned forward now, the first crack in her composure showing at the corners. "You're obsessed with me. You've always been jealous. You hated that Daniel chose me." "That's not what this is," I said. She pointed at me, finger sharp as a knife. "You're lying, and you're trying to ruin my marriage at my own engagement dinner." Aunt Rhina's head jerked. "Engagement dinner?" Marisol froze for half a second. Daniel looked like he'd been punched. "What?" Marisol's lips parted, then closed. She recovered fast, scoffing. "I meant, whatever. Anniversary, same thing." But it wasn't the same thing, because she just revealed something Daniel didn't know. And I realized right then she was juggling too many lies. They were starting to drop. Marisol turned back to me, eyes cold. "You want to play games? Fine. But don't cry when everyone sees what you really are." I lifted my phone again. Face up this time. The voicemail app was already open. A list of saved messages, dates, and timestamps lined up like bullets. Marisol's gaze flicked to the screen. The smile finally fell off her face. "Don't," she said quietly. Daniel stared at my phone. "Ava, what is that?" I met his eyes. Her. Then I hit play. End of part 10. Part 210. The first second of audio was just muffled fabric, like the phone had been shoved into a pocket. Then Marisol's voice came through the speaker, crisp and close, and the entire table stiffened. "Swear to God, if she keeps pushing, I'll make her look crazy." Aunt Rhina's fork clinked against her plate. Daniel's eyes widened like his brain was trying to reject what it was hearing. Marisol's head snapped toward my phone. "Turn that off." I didn't. The voicemail kept rolling. "You already moved it, right?" Marisol said, her tone impatient, breathy with laughter. "Because I'm not doing this wait for the paperwork thing. The account was just sitting there. She wasn't even going to touch it." A low male voice answered, slurred, careless. "Relax. It's done. 2 transfers. Clean." My mom made a small sound in her throat, like a choke she tried to swallow. Marisol's nails dug into the tablecloth. "Good. And if she goes to your mom?" The male voice cut in. "Then what?" Marisol's laugh was soft, mean. "Then we tell them she's grieving, that she's unstable, that she's always been dramatic. You know, Ava." My name in her mouth sounded like a stain. The room didn't move. People didn't even breathe right. It was like everyone was afraid the truth might shatter if they exhaled too hard. Daniel stood up so fast his chair tipped backward and hit the floor with a bang. "Who is that?" he demanded, voice cracking. "Who the hell is that man?" Marisol's face had gone pale under her makeup. She lunged across the table, reaching for my phone. I slid it back just out of her reach. Her fingers grazed air. "Stop," she hissed. No longer sweet, no longer performing. "Ava, stop." "You told me to play it," I said. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't have to. The speaker did it for me. The voicemail continued, and this part was worse, because it wasn't a plan anymore. It was a brag. "I hate her," Marisol said plainly. No hesitation, no guilt. She acts like he was her dad, but she was always the spare. Always. She doesn't deserve that money. Grandma Lita's hand flew to her chest. Dios mío. Daniel's face twisted like he couldn't decide whether to throw up or scream. My mom's eyes glistened. She stared at Marisol like she'd never seen her before. Marisol slapped the table. "Turn it off!" Daniel rounded on her. "That's your voice." Marisol's mouth opened, then shut. She looked around the table, searching for someone to save her, for someone to laugh, to shrug, to tell her it wasn't that bad. No one did. Cousin Lacey's phone was still pointed at the table, but now her hand trembled. Marisol's gaze snapped back to me, burning. "You set me up." I stared at her. "You butt-dialed me. You left the voicemail yourself." That was the part everyone still didn't know. The detail that made it impossible to twist. 3 weeks ago, I'd woken up to a missed call and a voicemail that was 11 minutes long. No greeting. No, call me back. Just Marisol's voice, laughing, plotting, saying my name like a joke. I'd listened to it once, then again, then recorded it to my laptop because I didn't trust phones not to accidentally lose things. I'd taken screenshots of the voicemail screen, date, time, duration, because receipts mattered more than tears. And I'd sat with it in my throat until tonight. Because in this family, truth without proof was just drama. Daniel stepped closer to Marisol, hands shaking. Tell me right now, he said, each word heavy. Who is that man? Marisol's eyes darted. It's someone from work. It's nothing. That's not nothing, Daniel snapped. He said he moved it. 2 transfers. Clean. That's the exact wording on the bank paper. Mom's voice came out thin. Marisol, did you take Ava's money? Marisol turned, and for a split second I saw it. Her old instinct. Her fastest weapon. Victim. She put a hand to her forehead like she might faint. This is insane. You're all listening to some edited audio and turning on me. Edited? Aunt Rhina repeated, disgusted. That doesn't sound edited. Marisol's eyes flashed. You hate me because I'm not blood. Grandma Lita stood up slowly, trembling but steady. No, we hate liars. Marisol's face twisted. You don't even know what you're talking about. I tapped the screen, paused the voicemail. Then I scrolled, slow, deliberate, so they could see the list. Multiple messages, different dates, different lengths. Marisol's voice again, short ones, like she was leaving herself notes and accidentally sent them to me. One was only 27 seconds, another was 8 minutes. Daniel's stare locked on the screen like it was a crime scene. How many times? He whispered. Marisol's chest heaved. Daniel, baby, you're going to let her do this? She's always hated me. He flinched at baby, like the word had turned sharp. I defended you, he said, voice low. I told Ava she was overreacting. I told Mom she was grieving. I told everyone she was being paranoid. My mom covered her mouth with both hands. Marisol took a step back, eyes glossy. Because she is paranoid. Look at her. She's enjoying this. I wasn't enjoying anything. My fingers were numb. My throat burned. But my spine felt straight for the first time in months. I leaned forward. You didn't just take it, I said. You wanted to make sure no one believed me after. Marisol's lip trembled, but her eyes stayed hard. You can't prove I took anything. A voicemail doesn't show a transfer. I nodded once. No. Then I reached into my purse again and pulled out a second envelope, thicker, heavier. I slid it across the table to Daniel. His hands shook as he opened it. Inside were printed screenshots, the voicemail screen with timestamps, and a photo of a cashier's check, payable to Marisol Santos. Daniel's breath hitched. Marisol's eyes went wide, pure panic this time. Where did you get that? She whispered. I didn't answer her. I looked at my brother and said, ask her why your name isn't on it. Daniel's jaw clenched so tight the muscle jumped. He lifted the check photo, staring at it like it might burst into flames. Then he looked up at Marisol, voice deadly calm. Tell me, he said, what did you spend it on? Marisol's lips parted, and right then someone knocked hard at the front door. 3 sharp hits. Not a neighbor, not a friend. The kind of knock that makes a room go cold. End of part 210. Part 310. The knocking hit again. 3 sharp blows that made the chandelier tremble. Daniel's eyes didn't leave Marisol. Did you call someone? Marisol's expression snapped into something soft and terrified, like a switch flipped behind her eyes. I don't know who that is, she whispered, hand floating to her throat. Nobody moved. Then Mom stood abruptly, chair legs scraping. I'll get it. Marisol's voice sliced through the air. No. Mom paused mid-step, startled. What? I'll. Marisol swallowed, forcing a shaky breath. I'll get it. It's probably someone from the venue. Or? Daniel grabbed her wrist. Marisol. Her glossy nails dug into his skin for a second before she relaxed her grip and let him lead her toward the foyer. The whole table shifted, everyone leaning like we were all watching the same car crash in slow motion. I stayed seated, phone in my hand, screen dimmed but heavy. The door swung open. 2 uniformed officers stood on the porch. One older, calm eyes. One younger, hand resting near his belt like he'd been trained to expect anything. Behind them, a woman in a black blazer held a clipboard. Marisol's breath hitched perfectly, like she'd rehearsed it. Ma'am, the older officer said, polite. We received a call about a disturbance and alleged harassment. Daniel's jaw tightened. Harassment? From who? The woman with the clipboard looked past them, straight at me. Ava Ruiz? My stomach sank. Marisol let out a trembling sigh. Thank God you're here. Daniel whipped his head toward her. You called them. Marisol's eyes filled, fast. I didn't want to, she said, voice quivering. But she's been threatening me. She showed up tonight and started screaming, and I didn't know what else to do. Mom appeared behind Daniel, face drained. Marisol, what are you saying? The younger officer stepped forward slightly. Miss, we need you to come speak with us. I didn't stand. I didn't blink. She told me to play the voicemails, I said evenly. She told everyone I was lying. Marisol clutched Daniel's arm like he was a life raft. Look at her, she sobbed. She's doing it again. She's twisting everything. She keeps saying I stole money from her. She's obsessed. Aunt Rina came into the foyer, her voice sharp. Obsessed? There are bank papers on the table. The older officer glanced inside, taking in the crowd, the tense posture, the tipped chair still on the floor. All right, he said, calm but firm. Everyone take a breath. We're going to separate this. Marisol nodded quickly. Yes, please. I just want her away from me. Daniel turned to the officer. She took money from my sister. There's proof. Marisol snapped her head toward him. Daniel! He didn't flinch. I heard your voice, he said low. I saw the check. The woman in the blazer shifted her clipboard. Sir, my purpose here is to deliver documentation. If Ava Ruiz is present, I need to confirm identity. Marisol's lip trembled. Documentation? She whispered, as if surprised. The woman nodded once. A petition for a protective order was filed this afternoon. Temporary hearing date included. Mom made a strangled sound. Protective order? A couple cousins drifted into the foyer, eyes wide. Someone whispered, She got a restraining order on Ava? Marisol covered her face like she couldn't bear it, but her fingers spread just enough that I could see one eye, watching me. The older officer extended a hand. Miss Ruiz, we're going to ask you a few questions outside. Daniel stepped forward. No, this is insane. The younger officer's voice hardened. Sir, step back. Daniel froze, teeth grinding. I stood slowly, keeping my palms visible, calm, measured. I could feel the room begging me to react, to give them something to label crazy. I didn't. I'll talk, I said, but I'm not leaving my phone here. Marisol sniffed loudly. You mean your little lies machine? I looked at her. You filed this today? She lifted her chin, tears still on her lashes. I had to. You won't stop. The words were soft, but her eyes said something else. Try to fight me and I'll bury you. I stepped onto the porch with the officers. Cold air hit my face like a slap. The woman in the blazer stayed on the threshold, pen poised. The older officer asked, Have you contacted Marisol Santos repeatedly against her wishes? No, I said. She contacted me. I have the voicemails. The younger officer frowned. Voicemails? I held up my phone. She left a voicemail discussing moving money from an account. The account is mine. The older officer's expression stayed neutral, but I saw the shift. Interest, caution. That sounds like a civil matter. Theft is criminal, but it depends on evidence. Right now, we're responding to a disturbance and a complaint of harassment. From inside, Marisol's voice rose. She showed up at my job last week. My head snapped toward the door. That's a lie. Marisol stepped into the doorway, dabbing her cheeks with a napkin, like she was wounded royalty. I have witnesses, she said, voice shaking. She cornered me in the parking lot and said if I didn't give it back, she'd ruin my life. She said she'd expose me. Expose you. Her eyes flicked to my phone again, like she was checking if I'd press play. The older officer turned to me. Did you threaten her? No, I said. I asked for my money. That's it. Marisol clutched her chest, and she stole my ring. Everything inside me went still. Daniel's head jerked up. What? Marisol pointed at me, finger steady now, not trembling. My engagement ring was on the counter in the bathroom. After she went in, it was gone. Mom's face crumpled. Marisol, don't do this. Marisol looked right at my mother, then back at the officers. Check her purse, she said, voice clear. She's been carrying it all night. A beat of silence. The younger officer's gaze dropped to my bag strap. The older officer held out his hand gently. Miss Ruiz, would you be willing to open your purse and show us what's inside? Just to clear this up, my fingers tightened around the strap. Inside that purse wasn't a ring. It was the envelope with the stamped transfer records, the printed screenshots, and the flash drive I'd brought as backup. Every voicemail saved, every timestamp, every screenshot. If I opened it on that porch in front of them, Marisol could claim anything. She could scream fake, scream stolen, scream she planted it. And if the officers decided to confiscate it, my proof would leave with them. Marisol took one slow step forward, eyes shining with something that wasn't fear anymore. It was hunger. Go ahead, she said softly. Show them. I swallowed once, tasting metal. Then I slid the bag off my shoulder and placed it between us. The zipper pull felt like a trigger under my fingertips. End of part 310. Part 410. The porch light buzzed faintly above us, throwing harsh shadows across everyone's faces. My purse sat on the ground like it didn't belong to me anymore. Marisol's voice stayed syrupy. It'll be quick, she said to the officers. She'll prove me wrong, and we can all go back inside. Her eyes didn't match her tone. Daniel hovered in the doorway behind her, fists clenched. This is ridiculous, he muttered. The older officer kept his voice gentle. Miss Ruiz, you can open it yourself. We're not here to escalate, we're here to resolve. I nodded once. I'll open it. I'll take items out. You don't touch anything. Marisol gave a tiny laugh. Because you're hiding something. I ignored her. My fingers slid the zipper open, slow, controlled, like I was defusing a bomb. I reached in and pulled out the first thing, my wallet, held it up, set it on the porch railing, then my keys, lip balm, a crumpled receipt from a gas station. Marisol watched every movement like a hawk. Keep going, she said softly. I pulled out the thick envelope with the bank logo, the stamped transfer records. Daniel's eyes snapped to it. Mom's voice floated from inside, shaky. That's the paper I saw. Marisol's shoulders tensed, just for a second, like she hated that it existed. I placed the envelope on the railing, too. That stays with me, I said. The younger officer's gaze flicked to it, interest obvious now. That's banking documents? Yes, I said. Proof of theft. Marisol scoffed. Alleged. I pulled out the printed screenshots, voicemail timestamps, the cashier's check photo. Then I paused with my hand still inside the purse, because I felt something that wasn't mine, something small, hard, square. My stomach turned cold. Marisol's smile sharpened. What's wrong? She whispered. I didn't answer. I couldn't. Slowly, I brought my hand out. A little black velvet box sat in my palm. For half a second, nobody made a sound. The porch light seemed to hum louder. Marisol inhaled like she was catching a scent she'd been starving for. Oh, she breathed, almost tender. There it is. Daniel's face went slack. Ava. My mouth went dry. I've never seen this in my life. Marisol's eyes filled on command. You're still lying, she said, and there was a sweetness to it that made my skin crawl, even with it in your hand. Mom stumbled into the doorway behind Daniel. Ava, please tell me. I didn't take it, I snapped, sharper than I meant to. Then I forced my voice down. I didn't. The older officer held out his hand. Miss Ruiz, I'm going to ask you to set that down. I placed the velvet box carefully on the porch railing like it might explode. Someone put it there, I said. I didn't. Marisol pressed her fingertips to her mouth. This is sick, she whispered. You're sick. Daniel took a step forward. Marisol, stop. How would it even... Because she's been carrying that purse all night, Marisol cut in fast. Too fast. You saw her. She kept it on her shoulder like it was glued there. I stared at her. You hugged me when I walked in. A tiny flicker crossed her face. Daniel's eyes narrowed. What? Marisol recovered instantly. I hugged you because I'm not a monster, she said. I tried to be kind. I looked at Daniel. She hugged me at the door, tight, both arms around me. Daniel's gaze snapped to Marisol, then to me. He looked torn, like his brain was trying to fit a puzzle piece that didn't match. The younger officer spoke, firmer now. Ma'am, the complainant is alleging theft. We need to document this. Marisol nodded, tears sliding neatly down her cheeks. I don't want her arrested, she said, the lie smooth as glass. I just want my ring back, and I want her away from me. My laugh came out broken. You filed a protective order today? You called cops tonight? You're telling them I stole your ring. You want me arrested. Marisol's voice dropped, cold underneath the tears. I want you to stop. Daniel's voice rose. No, this is too convenient. Marisol rounded on him. Too convenient. It's my ring. It's right there. It's right there, Daniel echoed, hollow. In her bag, after you hugged her. The older officer looked between us. Sir, are you suggesting your wife planted her ring? Marisol's head snapped toward the officer like she'd been insulted. Are you kidding me? Why would I? I cut in, voice steady now because fear wasn't useful anymore, because she's trying to discredit me. She already told someone on a voicemail that she'd make me look crazy. The older officer blinked. Voicemail? I lifted my phone. Multiple. Saved. Time-stamped. Marisol lunged forward, reaching again, instinctive. Don't. Daniel grabbed her wrist hard this time. Stop. Marisol froze, then yanked her arm back, breathing fast. Her mask slipped. Her eyes were furious. Mom stepped onto the porch, voice shaking. Officer, can you listen to the voicemail? Just one? Marisol whipped around. Elena! Mom flinched at the way her name was said. Daniel stared at his mother. Mom. Mom's hands trembled, but she lifted her chin. I watched Ava fall apart for months, she said, voice cracking. And I believed she was being dramatic. Her eyes filled. If there's audio, I want to hear it. Marisol's gaze snapped to me. Warning. Sharp. I pressed my thumb to the screen. Before I could hit play, Marisol stepped closer to the officers, voice suddenly calm. She's manipulating you, she said. She edits things. She's been spiraling since her father died. She needs help. Daniel's face twisted. Don't you dare. Marisol didn't look at him. She looked at the older officer. If you let her keep harassing me and something happens, that's on record now. The older officer exhaled slowly, like the situation had just doubled in weight. All right, he said. Miss Ruiz, we may need to take that ring as evidence, and we may need to take your phone to preserve any recordings if this turns into a criminal complaint. My heart slammed. My phone? I repeated. No. Those voicemails are the only thing. Marisol's mouth curved, barely. Exactly. The younger officer stepped forward. Ma'am, if you refuse, we may have to detain you until this is sorted. Daniel looked like he was about to break something. You're not taking her phone. The older officer held up a hand. Sir, we're trying to keep this calm. Marisol wiped her tears, already composed. Just do your job, she murmured. I stared at my phone in my hand, at the list of voicemails like lifelines. Then I looked at Marisol, and I realized she didn't just want my money. She wanted my proof. The older officer's voice lowered. Miss Ruiz, are you going to hand over the device voluntarily? My fingers tightened around it. Behind Marisol, Daniel's eyes met mine, wide, desperate, finally understanding what she was trying to do. And in the doorway, Cousin Lacey's phone was still recording, catching everything. Marisol followed my gaze to it. Then she smiled. Good, she said softly. Let everyone see who you really are. End of part 410. Part 5 tense. The older officer kept his hand out, patient like he was talking to a stray dog. Miss Ruiz, the device. Marisol stood just behind him, dabbing her cheeks, but her eyes were bright. Too bright, like she could already taste the moment my proof left my hands. Daniel's voice was raw. Ava, don't. I'm not refusing, I said. I'm protecting evidence. The younger officer's jaw tightened. Evidence for what? For theft, I said, lifting the bank envelope slightly. And for her plan to frame me. Marisol let out a laugh that sounded like glass cracking. Frame you? You literally have my ring in your purse. I didn't look at the ring box. I looked at the older officer. Give me 10 seconds. Listen to her voice. If it sounds edited, take my phone. If it sounds real, you can decide what kind of call you walked into. A beat. The older officer glanced at my mom in the doorway, her face wet, shaking. Then at Daniel, who looked like he was holding himself back with sheer muscle. 10 seconds, he said. Marisol's head snapped up. No, ma'am, the officer warned. I tapped the screen, found the voicemail, and turned the speaker up. Marisol's voice filled the porch again. Too clear, too familiar. If she keeps pushing, I'll make her look crazy. The younger officer's eyes shifted. Not sympathy, not judgment. Just that professional recalibration you see when someone's story stops lining up. I ended it before Marisol could lunge again. Silence hit like a wave. Marisol's lips parted, then she forced a scoff. That could be anything. She could have. Her voice matches, Aunt Rina said from the doorway, disgust thick in her tone. That's not a stranger. That's Marisol. Marisol rounded on her. You've always hated me. Enough, Daniel snapped. Marisol flinched at his volume. Then she did the thing she always did when she was cornered. She pivoted fast. She pointed at the velvet box on the railing. So what are we doing about my ring? Are you just letting her keep it? The older officer nodded once. We will take the ring box as evidence and document where it was found. Marisol's smile flickered. This wasn't the outcome she wanted. She wanted me cuffed. Walked out. Proof confiscated. And her phone? Marisol asked quietly. The older officer looked at me. If we can document the recording without seizing the device, we prefer that. Can you email the file to an official address or provide it in another format? My hand stayed steady. Yes. Marisol's nostrils flared. I can send it right now, I added. And I have backups. Marisol's head snapped toward me. Backups? Daniel's eyes widened a fraction, like he'd just realized I'd been planning for her to try this. I didn't smile. I didn't gloat. I just unlocked my phone and pulled up the email draft I'd written hours ago. Voicemail audio attached, screenshots attached, subject line already typed, fraud evidence, transfer records. Marisol took a step closer, voice low and sharp. Don't. Mom's voice broke through, trembling but firm. Marisol, why are you scared of a voicemail if you didn't do anything? Marisol's eyes flashed pure hatred at my mother, so quick it almost didn't register. Then Grandma Lita spoke from inside, small but steady. Because she did. The younger officer cleared his throat. All right, everyone back inside. We're going to get out of the cold and sort this with less audience. Marisol's gaze flicked to Cousin Lacey's phone again, still recording. Yeah, Marisol murmured. Less audience. Lacey's hand shook. Marisol's smile returned, controlled. Of course you are. We moved back toward the foyer, a slow procession of tension. As I stepped over the threshold, Aunt Raina's eyes narrowed at the wall near the door. Daniel, she said suddenly, is that little camera working? Daniel blinked. What? The one you installed, she said, pointing toward the corner above the entryway. After that break-in last year. My heartbeat stuttered. Daniel's face shifted like he'd forgotten it existed. Yeah, it's linked to my phone. Why? Aunt Raina turned her head, looking between Marisol and my purse. Because if she hugged Ava at the door, she said, voice sharp, and that ring magically ends up in Ava's bag, then the camera saw it. Marisol froze. Not tears, not trembling, frozen. Mom's hand flew to her mouth again. Daniel, check. Daniel hesitated for half a second, like opening that footage meant detonating his whole life. Then he pulled his phone from his pocket with shaking fingers. Marisol's voice went thin. This is insane. No, Daniel said, voice hollow. Insane is what you just did. He unlocked the app, thumb moving too fast, fumbling once, then correcting. A live view popped up. Our foyer, all of us standing there, tiny and distorted by a wide-angle lens. The older officer stepped closer. Can you pull the recording from earlier tonight? Daniel swallowed hard. Yeah, Marisol lunged, fast, instinctive, toward Daniel's phone. Daniel, don't! Daniel jerked it away like she'd burned him. Stop reaching for my stuff. Marisol's eyes widened, offended, then furious. Daniel tapped the timeline and scrubbed back. The screen showed the front door opening hours earlier. I saw myself on the tiny feed, shoulders tense, purse on my arm. Then Marisol appeared, stepping into frame in that cream dress, smile perfect. She opened her arms wide, hugged me. Her hand slid down my back. And then, quick as a flick of a card, her right hand dipped to her own clutch, came out with a small black square, and vanished into the outer pocket of my purse. The room went so quiet I could hear the camera audio crackle. Mom made a sound like a sob. Aunt Raina whispered, "Oh my God." Daniel's face collapsed. He stared at the screen like it was a nightmare he couldn't wake from. Marisol. Marisol's mouth opened, closed, opened again. That's, she stammered. That's not, you can't even see what that is. You can, Daniel said, voice shaking with rage. You can see you put something in her bag. What? Marisol snapped her head toward the officers, desperate. This is edited. He can edit that. The older officer didn't move. Sir, can you show me the timestamp on that clip? Daniel's finger hovered, then tapped. The timestamp glowed at the bottom. Marisol's face drained. The younger officer looked at her, expression hard now. Ma'am, you called us for theft. Marisol's voice pitched high. Because she stole from me. But the footage suggests otherwise, he said. Marisol's eyes darted, calculating, cornered. Then she did something so fast it barely registered. She snatched Daniel's phone with both hands and bolted toward the kitchen. Marisol! Daniel shouted, lunging after her. The officer surged forward. I moved too, heart hammering, watching her sprint like her life depended on it. Because it did. She reached the sink. Her fingers tightened around the phone. And I saw her wrist twist like she was about to drop it straight into the running water. End of part 510. Part 6 tense. Marisol reached the sink with Daniel's phone clenched in both hands. The faucet was already running. Someone must have left it on while clearing plates, and the sound of the water suddenly felt deafening. Her wrists twisted. Daniel launched forward. No! The older officer moved faster than I expected. He grabbed Marisol's forearm mid-swing, pinning it against the counter. The younger officer stepped in behind her, blocking her hips. Marisol thrashed. Get off me! He's trapping me in here. Ma'am, the older officer said, voice low and flat. Stop resisting. She jerked again, desperate, and the phone slipped. It slapped the edge of the stainless steel sink, bounced, and dropped into the shallow water with a sickening plunk. Daniel made a sound like it came from his bones. He shoved his hand into the sink and fished it out, water pouring from the charging port. For a second, he just stared at it like he was watching his own life short-circuit in his palm. Marisol's breath came fast. See, she cried. He's violent. Daniel turned on her, shaking. You tried to destroy it. I didn't. Her voice cracked perfectly. I was trying to show them you were editing it. The younger officer's eyes narrowed. We all saw you run. Mom stood in the kitchen doorway, hands clenched at her chest. Marisol, please. Marisol's gaze flicked to Mom, and something ugly flashed there. Then she forced her face back into a sob. Elena, she's poisoning you against me. Grandma Lita's voice floated from the hall, small but sharp. You poisoned yourself. The older officer guided Marisol away from the sink. Sit down. I'm not a criminal, she spat, mascara finally smearing. She is. She stole my ring. She's stalking me. And the camera shows you placing an item into her purse, the officer interrupted. Marisol froze, mouth open. Daniel held up his dripping phone like an accusation. Why? Why would you do that? Marisol's eyes darted around the kitchen, counters, drawers, exits, like she was searching for a new script. Then she whispered, barely audible, because she wouldn't stop. I stepped forward. I wouldn't stop asking for my money. Marisol's jaw tightened. You don't get to. She stopped herself, swallowed, and tried again, softer. You don't get to ruin everything because you're grieving. Daniel flinched. Don't you dare use Dad again. The older officer held out his hand to Daniel. Sir, I need the phone. Daniel hesitated, then passed it over, water still dripping onto the officer's glove. We'll document the footage, the officer said, and we'll take the ring box as evidence. Ma'am, he looked at Marisol. If your report is found to be false, that has consequences. Marisol's nostrils flared. So now I'm the criminal. No, the officer said. Right now, you're the complainant and also a person of interest in a potential false report and evidence tampering situation. Sit still. The word tampering landed like a weight. Marisol sank onto the edge of the kitchen stool, breathing hard, hands clasped like she was praying. But she wasn't praying. She was calculating. The woman in the black blazer stepped into the kitchen, clipboard tight to her chest. Officer, for clarity, my client filed a petition earlier today. This is a civil protective order matter. Daniel whipped toward her. Your client? The woman's gaze slid to Marisol. Miss Santos. Mom looked like someone had slapped her. You brought a lawyer to dinner? Marisol's chin lifted. I came prepared. That sentence hit me so cleanly I almost laughed. Prepared, like she hadn't been carrying velvet ring boxes and lies like spare ammunition. I turned my phone toward the older officer. I can send you the voicemail file right now. Marisol snapped. Don't. I didn't look at her. I hit send, a soft whoosh. The attachment left my phone, then the screenshots, then the bank transfer PDF. The older officer nodded once at his own device as it buzzed. Received. Marisol's eyes widened, a crack of panic she couldn't hide fast enough. Daniel's voice dropped, thick. Ava, how did she even move it? Your money. The bank said it was a protected account. I pulled the bank page from the envelope and held it out between us. Look at the authorization method. He took it, hands shaking, eyes scanning. Then his face went gray. It says online banking credentials, he whispered. I nodded. And look at the device. Daniel swallowed hard, reading the line out loud like it was a curse. Recognized device, D. Ruiz iPad. Mom's breath caught. Daniel, he snapped his head up at me, horrified. I didn't, Ava, I swear to God. I know, I said, because you weren't even in the state that week. You were in Phoenix for work. He blinked rapidly, like he was trying to pull those days back from fog. Marisol stayed here, he whispered. She said she didn't feel good. She said she... He stopped, looked at her. Marisol was watching us from the stool, too still. Daniel's voice broke. You used my iPad. Marisol's lips parted. Daniel. He stepped closer, the bank paper crumpling in his fist. You used my iPad to rob my sister. Marisol stood, sudden and sharp. I did it for us. The room snapped. Mom's eyes went wide. For what? Marisol's voice rose, raw now, the mask finally slipping. For our future, for the house, for the deposits, for the life you promised me. Daniel looked like he'd been punched. That was her money. Marisol's hands shook as she pointed at me. She wasn't going to touch it. She was sitting on it like a shrine. Meanwhile, we're drowning in bills because you keep trying to save everyone. I took one step closer. So you decided I deserved nothing. Marisol's eyes burned. You were always the favorite. Silence. Mom's face crumpled. That's not, Marisol snapped. It is. Daniel's voice went dangerously calm. Where is it, Marisol? Marisol's throat bobbed. It's gone. Daniel stared. Gone where? Marisol swallowed. I moved it. To what? Daniel demanded. To your account? To a business? To someone else? Marisol's eyes flicked, one quick glance toward the hallway. Toward the little office where Daniel kept their shared laptop, where his iPad charger sat, where the security system DVR lived. I saw it at the same time Daniel did. He turned and moved, fast. Marisol lunged after him, panic exploding. Daniel, don't. And I followed, because whatever was on that laptop was the last place she'd want us to look. End of part 610. Part 710. Daniel barreled down the hallway like the house was on fire. Marisol chased him in heels, dress swishing, voice pitched high. Daniel, please, don't do this in front of everyone. In front of everyone? He snapped, not slowing. You called cops in front of everyone. The older officer followed, steady and alert. The younger one stayed near the kitchen with Mom and the lawyer, like he was keeping the temperature from boiling over. I trailed behind Daniel, my phone tight in my hand, my purse strap biting into my shoulder. My heart was doing that thing where it thuds so hard it feels like it's trying to leave. Daniel hit the small office door and shoved it open. The room was dim, lit only by the glow of a monitor in sleep mode, and the little blue light on the router. Dad's old framed photo still sat on the shelf. Daniel never moved it. Marisol always hated it. Daniel grabbed the laptop off the desk and flipped it open. Password, he barked, fingers trembling. Marisol skidded to a stop in the doorway. Daniel, come on! Password, he repeated, and this time his voice sounded like it had teeth. I don't, she started. I stepped closer. It's his birthday. The same one you use for everything. Marisol's eyes flashed at me, pure venom. Then Daniel typed. The laptop unlocked. Daniel didn't even breathe. He went straight to the browser history. At first, it was normal. Streaming sites, recipe searches, best mortgage rates, wedding photographer. Then the ugly stuff started. Online banking, multiple logins, password reset screens, a two-factor authentication prompt. Daniel's jaw tightened. You used my laptop. Marisol rushed forward. Daniel, I swear. The older officer stepped into the room fully. Ma'am, stay where you are. Marisol froze, chest heaving. Daniel clicked into save downloads. A list popped up. PDF after PDF. Wire confirmation transfer receipt account summary. My stomach dropped. He opened the first PDF. The screen filled with a bank-branded document, a wire transfer confirmation with the amount, the date, and the destination account. Beneficiary name, Santos Consulting LLC. Beneficiary bank. Reference, home deposit. Daniel's face went blank. Santos Consulting. Marisol's voice turned small, almost childlike. It's just a business name. It's not. It's your last name, Daniel said, dead quiet. He opened the next file, a receipt from a luxury dealership. Not a quote, a paid invoice. Payment received, $18,000. Memo, down payment. Mom's voice floated from the hallway, weak. What is that? Daniel didn't answer. He clicked again, faster, angrier. A wedding planner invoice. Paid in full, $12,500. Package, platinum. A jewelry store's receipt. Total, $9,840. Item, custom setting plus stones. My throat burned. Every click felt like a punch. Not to me, because I'd already been punched, but to everyone who'd sat at that table and watched Marisol call me a liar with a straight face. Daniel's hands shook so hard the cursor wobbled. How much did you take? He whispered. Marisol's eyes darted, calculating a path out. Daniel, you don't understand. I understand perfectly, he snapped. You stole from my sister. You paid for our wedding with her dead father's money. Her mouth twitched. It was going to be ours anyway. She doesn't even have kids. She doesn't. I stepped forward so fast the older officer lifted a hand between us. Don't, he warned. Daniel's voice dropped even lower. Say one more word about what she deserves. Marisol swallowed. Her gaze flicked to the shelf with Dad's photo. Then she did something subtle. So subtle most people would miss it. She smirked. Not at me. At the laptop. Like she still had a move left. Daniel clicked into the email inbox tied to his bank alerts. Subject lines stacked like knives. New payee added two-factor authentication enabled security settings. Changed account recovery email updated. Daniel froze. Recovery email? He opened it. Your account recovery email has been updated to M. Santos. Daniel's breath caught. You changed my bank recovery email to yours. Marisol's voice finally cracked into anger. Because you forget passwords, Daniel. Because you lose things. I was helping. That's not help, Mom said, stepping into the office behind us. Her hands were shaking, but her eyes were locked on Marisol now, harder than I'd ever seen them. That's control. The lawyer appeared in the doorway too, clipboard tight to her chest. Officer, this is escalating. I'm going to advise my client not to. Your client filed a report, the older officer cut in, and we're now looking at documentation consistent with fraud. Marisol whirled on him. Fraud? You can't just say that. I can say consistent with, he replied evenly, and I can preserve evidence. Daniel's eyes were wet now, but his voice stayed steady. There's more, he said almost to himself. He clicked into a folder labeled taxes. Inside was a spreadsheet, rows, dates, amounts, notes in neat little cells like she'd been tracking it all with pride. Column headers, transfer, cash, cover story. Daniel read one line out loud, voice dead. Tell Elena, Ava is grieving. Mom made a soft sound like pain trying to get out quietly. Marisol's face went rigid. That's not. Daniel scrolled. Another line, if Ava asks again, say she's unstable. And another, ring plant, bathroom pocket, claim theft. My skin went ice cold, because that meant tonight wasn't just opportunistic, it was planned. Daniel's stare lifted to Marisol, and whatever love he'd been clinging to finally snapped. You wrote it down. Marisol's voice dropped, lethal. So what? You think you're perfect? You think your family didn't use you for years? I just streamlined it. A beat. Then Daniel's shoulders rose and fell once, like he was inhaling through a collapse. He turned to the older officer. I want this copied, all of it, now. The officer nodded. We can, but it needs to be done correctly. Marisol's eyes narrowed. You can't take our laptop. The officer didn't blink. Watch me. Marisol's gaze flicked to me again, sharp and hateful. You're enjoying this. I stared back. No, I'm surviving it. Daniel's phone, still wet, buzzed in the officer's hand with a weak, glitchy vibration. A notification flashed on the cracked screen. Daniel leaned in, squinting. What is that? He murmured. The older officer angled it so we could all see. Bank alert, scheduled transfer pending, 9 a.m. My stomach dropped through the floor. Daniel's voice came out as a whisper. Scheduled transfer from my account. Marisol's face went pale in one clean wave, because whatever she already stole, she was about to steal again. End of part 710. Part 810. The bank alert glowed on the wet screen like a threat. Scheduled transfer, pending, 9 a.m. Daniel stared at it, jaw working. That's tomorrow morning. Marisol didn't answer. She just stood in the office doorway, pale now, breathing shallow, like she'd been caught mid-heist. The older officer's voice turned brisk. Sir, call your bank's fraud line. Now. Put it on speaker. Daniel fumbled his phone from his pocket. The other phone, the one that wasn't drowned. His thumb shook as he tapped. Marisol's lawyer stepped forward. Officer, you can't compel. I'm not compelling anything, the officer cut in. I'm advising him to protect his finances and preserve evidence. Daniel hit speaker. A recorded voice came on, calm and cheerful in a way that made me want to scream. Thank you for calling. Marisol's eyes flicked to the laptop, then to me. Then she moved. Not running, not lunging, just a quiet step, like she was going to drift past us and out of the room. The younger officer, now in the hallway, blocked her without even looking stressed. Ma'am, stay put. Marisol lifted her hands, innocent. I need water. Kitchen's behind you, he said. Her nostrils flared. She turned back, and the mask slid on again, tight and shiny. This is harassment, she said, voice shaking on purpose. They're trapping me. Daniel snapped. You trapped her. The bank picked up. Fraud department, this is Kayla. May I have your full name and the last 4 of your social? Daniel rattled it off too fast, like speed could undo what we'd just seen. Kayla's tone shifted into business. I see multiple wire activities. Are you calling to report unauthorized transfers? Yes, Daniel said, voice breaking. My wife used my devices. She moved money from my sister's account. There's another scheduled transfer pending tomorrow at 9. Marisol barked a laugh. I didn't. The officer shot her a look that shut her up. Kayla continued. I can place an immediate freeze on outgoing transfers while we open a case. Do you authorize a temporary hold on the account? Yes, Daniel said. Do it. A pause. Keyboard clicks. All right, Kayla said. Hold is placed. The scheduled transfer will not process at 9 a.m. Marisol's face changed so fast it was almost funny, fear flashing into rage, then back into a tremble. Daniel's shoulders dropped like the air finally reached his lungs. Thank you, he whispered. Kayla added, we will need documentation, police report number if available. Any relevant recordings or written proof can be uploaded through our secure portal. I'll text you a link. Send it, Daniel said. The call ended. Silence. Marisol's voice came out low. You froze our money. Daniel turned, eyes wet, and for the first time tonight, he looked at her like she was a stranger in his house. You froze it when you stole it. Marisol's lawyer stepped in, voice clipped. Marisol, do not speak further. Marisol ignored her and looked straight at me. You're not getting it back. I blinked once. That's not your choice anymore. Marisol's eyes narrowed. You think you won because you embarrassed me at dinner? You embarrassed yourself, Aunt Raina said from the hall, sharp as a knife. Marisol's jaw tightened. Stay out of it. Mom's voice came from behind the officer, trembling but steady. No. I stayed out of it for months, and I was wrong. Marisol's head snapped toward her. Elena. Mom flinched, then stood taller anyway. Don't use my name like you own it. That hit Marisol harder than anything else. Her lips parted, and for a second she looked like she didn't know what face to wear. Then she tried a new one. Calm. Fine, she said softly. Let's do this the right way. Ava can file whatever she wants. I'll countersue for defamation. And I'll go stay with my sister tonight. Daniel stared at her. You're not taking anything from this house. Marisol laughed under her breath. You can't stop me. The older officer stepped forward. Ma'am, given the false report and the attempt to destroy potential evidence. I didn't destroy anything, Marisol snapped. You attempted to, he corrected. We're documenting it. Marisol turned her head slightly, eyes sliding toward her phone, sitting on the desk, screen dark. My stomach tightened, because whatever was on her phone mattered more than the ring box now. Marisol's lawyer followed her gaze too, and her mouth tightened like she'd just realized her client had been sloppy. Daniel noticed. Give me your phone, he said. Marisol's eyes snapped to his. Absolutely not. Daniel's voice went flat. You changed my recovery email. You used my iPad. You made a spreadsheet called Ring Plant. You don't get privacy from me right now. Marisol scoffed. You're not taking my phone because your sister told you to. I stepped forward, keeping my voice calm. If you didn't do anything, unlock it and show them the bank app. Show them the transfers. Marisol's smile twitched. No. The older officer nodded once, like that answered everything. Ma'am, if there's evidence on that device related to an ongoing investigation, you may be ordered to preserve it. Do not delete anything. Marisol's eyes flashed. You can't prove I delete anything. Daniel held up the wet phone in the officer's hand. That's what you tried to do 5 minutes ago. Marisol's throat bobbed. Then her own phone buzzed on the desk. Once, twice. She didn't move, but her eyes tracked the screen like a predator. Daniel leaned in and read the notification out loud. Manny, did you fix it? My skin went cold, because that was the voice. The male voice from the voicemail, slurred, careless, finally had a name. Daniel looked up slowly. Manny, he said, tasting it like poison. Your cousin Manny. Marisol's lips parted, then she snapped them shut. Mom whispered, Your cousin? Marisol's composure shattered in a fast, ugly crack. Don't you dare, she hissed at Daniel. Don't drag my family into this. Daniel's laugh was hollow. You already did. The phone buzzed again. Manny, I can't have cops at my door. Answer me. Marisol's hand shot out toward the phone. The younger officer moved first and picked it up, holding it just out of her reach. Marisol lunged. Ma'am, he warned. Marisol froze, chest heaving, eyes wild. Daniel's voice was quiet now, deadly controlled. He's panicking because you told him you got the police off your back. Marisol shook her head fast. No. The older officer looked at Daniel. Sir, if you can provide those voicemails, the bank records, and this message thread, it supports a broader fraud report. Daniel nodded once, like his whole body was locking into a new purpose. We will. Marisol's lawyer stepped closer, voice sharp. Officer, you cannot scroll through her phone without consent or warrant. The younger officer held it up without unlocking it. We're not scrolling. We're preserving it. Marisol's eyes cut to mine, burning, frantic. Give it back. I stared at her. You told everyone I was lying. Marisol's voice dropped, a whisper only I could hear. You don't know who you're playing with. I leaned in just enough that my words hit her clean. Tomorrow, everyone will. Daniel turned to the older officer. There's a bridal shower at the Del Mar Ballroom tomorrow afternoon. Her friends, her coworkers, everyone. Marisol's head snapped. Daniel, don't. Daniel didn't look at her. She's been telling them I'm the problem, that my family is jealous. His eyes lifted to mine. Ava, if you want your money back, we do this in daylight. That in public, with every receipt. My heart hammered, but my voice stayed steady. Then we bring everything. Marisol's face went slack, pure dread, finally honest. Because she understood the difference between tonight and tomorrow. Tonight was family. Tomorrow was her entire image. And she had built that image with stolen money. End of part 810. Part 910. The Del Mar Ballroom looked like someone had poured sugar all over it. White linen, blush balloons, a neon sign that said bride-to-be, glowing above a gift table, stacked like a shrine. Marisol stood in the middle of it all, laughing too loud, hands fluttering as people filmed her on their phones. Her cream dress from last night was gone. Today, she wore satin pink and a diamond bracelet that caught the light every time she moved. Stolen light. I stayed in the doorway, half behind a pillar, my folder pressed to my ribs. Daniel walked beside me, jaw tight, shoulders squared like he'd chosen a war. Mom was with us too, quieter than I'd ever seen her, clutching her purse like it was the only thing keeping her upright. A bridesmaid spotted Marisol and squealed. Marisol, we saved the best seat! Marisol's smile was flawless until her eyes flicked toward the entrance. She saw Daniel, then me. The smile held for 2 seconds longer than it should have. Then it cracked. Daniel, she said, voice pitched for an audience. What are you doing here? He didn't answer her. He looked at the woman holding a mic near the cake table, some coordinator in a black jumpsuit. Hi, Daniel said, calm. I'm the groom. I need the mic for 3 minutes, right now. The coordinator blinked. This is a private event. It's my credit card on the deposit, Daniel said, and his voice sharpened on the last word. 3 minutes. Marisol stepped forward fast, laugh bubbling up like she could drown him in charm. Babe, stop! You're embarrassing me. Daniel reached into his jacket and held up his phone, screen facing the coordinator. On it, the venue receipt, the payment confirmation. Then he tilted it a little farther so Marisol could see it too. Paid in full, he said, with money you stole from my sister. A hush started spreading like spilled wine. One of Marisol's friends, tall, blonde, lashes thick as feathers, let out a nervous laugh. Okay, joke? Marisol's eyes burned into Daniel. Not here, she hissed. Daniel took the mic from the coordinator anyway. The room's chatter faded into confused silence. Phones lifted. People leaned in. Marisol's mouth formed a soft, pleading smile that didn't reach her eyes. Everyone, she said quickly, trying to grab the moment first. I'm so sorry. My husband is under a lot of stress and he... Daniel's voice cut through the speakers, clean and steady. My wife filed a false police report last night, he said. She accused my sister Ava of stealing her ring. A ripple of shocked murmurs. Marisol's head snapped. Daniel. Daniel lifted his other hand, holding up a small, black velvet box like it was toxic. This ring. A bridesmaid gasped. Someone whispered, "Oh my God." Daniel nodded toward the far wall where the venue had a mounted TV for slideshows. You have HDMI? The coordinator, pale now, nodded. We? Yes. Daniel plugged his phone in with the coordinator's help, hands surprisingly steady. Marisol lunged toward him. Mom stepped into her path and said, low and shaking, "Don't." Marisol froze, eyes wide like she couldn't believe Mom was standing in the way. The TV flickered. Then the foyer camera footage filled the screen. Grainy wide-angle, timestamp glowing in the corner. People leaned forward, squinting. On screen, I walked in with my purse. Marisol appeared, arms open, bright smile, perfect hug. And then, clear as day, her hand slid down my back and slipped something into my bag. The room erupted. What the hell? No way. She planted it. Marisol's voice went shrill. That's edited. That's not real. Daniel turned to the crowd, face tight. It's the security camera from our house, time-stamped, pulled directly from the system. Marisol grabbed for the mic. Daniel moved it away. You don't get to talk over this. Marisol snapped, eyes wet now. Mascara already threatening. You're doing this because she hates me. Daniel looked right at her. I'm doing this because you robbed my sister. A beat. Then I stepped forward. My legs felt like glass, but I walked anyway, folder in hand. I took the mic from Daniel. He didn't fight me for it. Marisol's eyes locked on my folder like it was a weapon. I opened it and held up the first page, the stamped transfer records. The bank logo shone under ballroom lights like courtroom lighting. This is my account, I said, voice steady. My dad left it for me. 2 transfers emptied it, one to an LLC in her name. Marisol shook her head, laughing too hard. Fake, she printed that. She's sick. I nodded once and looked at the crowd. Cool, here's her voice. I connected my phone to the coordinator's speaker line. Hands quick, already rehearsed in my head 100 times. And then Marisol filled the room again. If she keeps pushing, I'll make her look crazy. An audible gasp rolled through the ballroom. I didn't stop there. I tapped the next clip. You already moved it, right? 2 transfers. Clean. The blonde bridesmaid, Kenzie, stared at Marisol like she'd been slapped. Mary? What is that? Marisol's voice broke. That's not. She. AI can do anything now. I reached into the folder and held up the screenshot of Marisol's phone notification from last night, printed and dated. Manny, did you fix it? Then the next. Manny, I can't have cops at my door. A man near the back, dark hair, chain around his neck, shifted like he'd been punched by the air. Marisol's head snapped toward him. Manny. His eyes went wide. Someone near him whispered, Is that her cousin? Manny took one step back. Daniel's voice cut in, sharp. Stay right there. Manny turned, ready to bolt. 2 guys in suits near the venue entrance, security, moved instinctively, blocking him without even being asked. Marisol's breathing turned ragged. She looked around, searching for one friendly face. But phones were up everywhere now. Recording. Catching her raw, unfiltered. A woman in a navy blazer, older, confident, stepped forward from a table near the front. Marisol, she said coldly, I'm your supervisor. Marisol blinked like she forgot work existed. Cynthia, please. Cynthia's mouth didn't move with sympathy. You used company time to plan a wedding you paid for with stolen money? Marisol's voice went thin. I can explain. Cynthia held up a hand. Don't. HR will contact you Monday. You're done. A sharp, collective inhale swept the room. Marisol's face twisted. Then she did what she always did when she couldn't win. She tried to burn everything down. She lunged at me, not a slap, worse. She went for my phone. I jerked back, but she caught my wrist, nails digging in hard. Give me that, she hissed through her teeth, eyes wild. Give it to me! Daniel grabbed her shoulders and yanked her off me. Don't touch her! Marisol screamed, high, theatrical, so loud the balloons trembled. Get off me! He's abusive! The crowd didn't rush to her. They stepped back, because they just watched her plant a ring. They just heard her say she'd make me look crazy. The coordinator's voice cut in, trembling but firm. Ma'am, you need to leave. Marisol snapped toward her. It's my shower. It's a private venue, the coordinator said. And you're done here. Marisol's eyes darted to me one last time, pure hatred. You think this is the end? She whispered, close enough that only I heard. If I go down, I'm taking something of yours with me. Then security moved in, guiding her toward the exit as she fought and sobbed and shouted my name like it was a curse. Daniel didn't chase. He stood beside me, shaking, watching the woman he married get walked out of her own fantasy. My phone buzzed in my hand. A text from Daniel's bank. Case opened. Trace in progress. Then a second notification. Unknown number. A voicemail. No name, just a number, with an area code I didn't recognize. And the preview line beneath it, you should have stayed quiet. End of part 910. The ballroom was still loud, people whispering, phones up, someone crying near the gift table, but all I could hear was the buzz in my hand. Unknown number. One new voicemail. You should have stayed quiet. Daniel leaned in, reading my face. What? I didn't answer. I just stepped out into the hallway, away from the balloon arch, away from the neon sign that still said bride-to-be like it hadn't gotten the memo. Mom followed, heels clicking fast. Ava. I held up one finger. Not rude. Just give me 2 seconds. I pressed play. Static at first. Then a man's voice, close to the mic, low, trying to sound calm but failing. You're messing with the wrong people, he said. That money is gone. You keep running your mouth. You're gonna make this real ugly. A pause. Then the part that made my stomach turn to ice. And don't think we don't know where you live. Mom's hand flew to her mouth. Daniel's face changed. All the softness left. That's Manny. I ended the voicemail and stared at the screen like it might bite me. Mom's voice trembled. Ava, call the police. Now. Daniel already had his phone up. I'm calling. I grabbed his wrist. Not from inside. Not here. Not with everyone filming. He froze, then nodded, jaw tight, and we moved farther down the hallway to the service exit where the air was cooler and the noise dulled. Daniel called the non-emergency line first, then switched when they transferred him. I stood with my back against the cinder block wall, breathing shallow. I wasn't panicking. I was cataloging. Voicemail saved, time-stamped, threat, location mention, receipts. Daniel paced 2 tight steps and back. Yes, he said into the phone, voice clipped. We have audio, we have video, we have bank records, and now we have a threat. Mom stared at the floor like she was trying not to collapse. Behind the service door, the party muffled on, like the world didn't care that something darker had just stepped in. Daniel ended the call and looked at me, eyes bloodshot. They're sending someone to take a statement. I nodded, throat tight. Good. Mom's voice broke. This is my fault. I shook my head once. No, it's hers. Mom flinched, then whispered, I should have believed you. That landed heavier than any apology I'd ever heard from her. I didn't hug her. Not yet. My body wasn't ready to soften, but I stepped closer and said quietly, believe me now. That's what matters. Her eyes filled. She nodded. A door opened behind us. Aunt Raina peeked out, face pale. They're saying Marisol's live on Instagram. Daniel's head snapped. What? Raina turned her phone toward us. Marisol's face filled the screen, smeared mascara, hair half loose, sitting in the back of a car. Her voice was breathless, shaky, perfect for sympathy. I'm scared, she sobbed to the camera. Daniel's family attacked me. Ava showed up with fake documents and Daniel put his hands on me. She dragged in a broken breath, and now they're trying to get me fired. Comments poured up the screen like rain. OMG, run, call the cops. She's jealous, praying for you. Marisol dabbed her eyes, then looked straight into the lens. And I have to say this because I'm protecting myself. Ava has been obsessed with me since day one. She's been spiraling since her dad died. She needs help. Mom made a small sound, pain and shame mixed. Daniel's voice turned low and dangerous. She's still doing it. I watched Marisol's live, heart steady in a way that surprised me, because I'd already seen her do her best work. Tonight wasn't her best work anymore. Tonight we had daylight. We had footage. We had her voice. And now, thanks to her, she had an audience. I took Raina's phone and said, send that live link to yourself. Screen record it, right now. Raina nodded, fingers moving fast. Mom blinked. Ava, what are you doing? I handed the phone back, finishing it. The officer arrived 20 minutes later. We gave statements in a small staff room that smelled like coffee and bleach. I played Manny's threat voicemail. The officer's eyebrows lifted slightly, pen pausing. That's a direct intimidation attempt, he said. We'll include it. I provided the bank records, the voicemail files, the screenshots, the footage stills. The officer asked me to email them to a secure address. I did. Daniel provided the laptop files, photos of the spreadsheet, the download folder, the email recovery change. Mom signed a statement too, her hand shaking, but her signature clear. When it was done, we walked out into the parking lot under harsh lights and cool night air. Daniel's voice was empty. She's going to try to take me down with her. I looked at him. Then don't stand near the fire. He swallowed hard. I didn't know, I swear. I believe you, I said, but belief isn't enough anymore. He nodded slowly, absorbing the boundary like a bruise. Mom stepped closer, voice small. What happens now? I stared at the Del Mar sign, glowing in the distance like nothing happened inside. Now, I said, I stop letting her control the story. Daniel's phone buzzed. A text from Cynthia, the supervisor. HR wants the evidence. Tonight. Daniel looked at me. Do we send it? I nodded. Everything. He exhaled, shaky. She'll say we're trying to ruin her. We're not, I said. We're documenting what she did. Another buzz. My bank. Trace update. Funds routed through intermediary account. Investigation continuing. Not all of it. Not yet. But movement. Hope. Mom's eyes flicked to my phone. Ava, are you going home tonight? I thought about Manny's voicemail. We know where you live. I thought about the way Marisol's eyes looked when security walked her out, like she was already planning her revenge. I shook my head. No. Daniel didn't hesitate. Stay with me. I looked at him, and for the first time in months, I didn't feel like the little sister begging for belief. I felt like someone with options. No, I said quietly. I'm not staying in the house she had access to. Daniel flinched, then nodded again. Okay, I'll pay. I stared at him. Not with my money. His throat bobbed. Fair. Mom whispered, I'll go with you. I considered it. The old version of me would have said yes out of obligation. But obligation was how Marisol got her hooks in. I took a slow breath. No, I said, gentle but firm. I need one night where I'm not responsible for anyone else's feelings. Mom's eyes filled, but she nodded like she understood. Daniel looked like he wanted to argue, then stopped himself. Good. That was the first healthy thing he'd done in months. My phone buzzed again. A new voicemail, same unknown number. I didn't play it. I didn't need to. I saved it, screen recorded the voicemail list, backed it up to the cloud, forwarded it to the officer's email thread. Receipts weren't just proof anymore. They were protection. Daniel's voice came quiet. Ava, I'm filing for separation. I looked at him. Really looked. His shoulders were slumped, eyes red, but his spine was straighter than last night. You should, I said. Mom inhaled sharply. Daniel, he didn't look at her. She tried to frame my sister and rob my family. She threatened Ava through Manny, and she still went live to lie. He swallowed. I'm done. A beat of silence, and then Mom whispered, okay. That was the real payoff. Not the ballroom, not the whispers, not the firing. My mother choosing the truth without being forced. We walked to our cars under the parking lot lights. Before I got in mine, I turned back. Daniel was staring at the venue doors like he expected Marisol to burst through them and start over. Change your passwords, I told him. All of them. Bank, email, everything. Two-factor, new recovery email that isn't shared. He nodded. Done tonight. And the cameras, I added. Change access. He swallowed. Done. Mom's voice was quiet. Ava, what about Manny? I'm not replying, I said. I'm not negotiating with threats. The police have it. The bank has it. HR has it. I opened my car door, then paused. And Marisol? Mom asked, barely audible. I looked at the steering wheel, my hands on the rim, steady. Marisol doesn't get to be family anymore, I said. Not to me. Mom's lips trembled. Okay. I got in, shut the door, and the world became muffled, safe, small. My phone sat in the cup holder, screen dark. For the first time since Dad died, the silence didn't feel like abandonment. It felt like a boundary.